Hello and welcome to my video. Please do subscribe if you aren't already. So today what I'm going to look at is something that you probably haven't seen me do before, or if you have, it was a while ago, and that is colour first. And I use that word because I used to talk about it quite a lot in my work, and I did it a lot when I was doing illustrational work. And what it is a way where I used to put the watercolour down on the paper in a very sort of intuitive and spontaneous way as I was looking at the subject, and then subsequently I would work over it with my ink pen, my fountain pen, in a relatively precise way. And I'm just wondering now, thinking about that technique quite a bit, how I might be able to adapt that to suit my working, the way I work now, in a much more expressive, less representational way. Now, I think necessarily this sort of work will probably be more representational than some of my other studies, but I think it adds something, and I'm going to try and explore how I might be able to do it. So I've got a couple of examples here. So this one here is one I did, and it's in a building actually, and inside of what is actually Elizabeth Gaskell House, but that's kind of not really relevant to what I'm talking about. But anyway, you can see how I've used really rich watercolour, and then I've worked line work over. And I'm going to keep with that approach, but whether or not it would always be ink pen, whether or not it would always be pen, whether it could be pencil as well, and things like Inktense pencil, which are quite rich, who knows. So I'm going to do a bit of exploring. This is another example, again more of a sort of townscape. I've got one with more pen on it down here that I've just dropped, so that's this, but you can see that you put the watercolour down first and you get a very nice loose impression without it necessarily even being in the right location. So I'm really keen to see whether I can make this work with my current things. And I've got a study here in my sketchbook which is looking far too dark, which I can just actually, maybe easier if I just hold it up. But again, it's far too kind of it's not rich enough in its watercolour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera so that it's over the desk and do a bit of exploring with the watercolour and then overlaying and see how we go. Okay, so I've just been doing a quick recce, and I've got some hot press paper here, and I'm using this image. I don't ever usually work from photos in this way, but for the purposes of trying to explore how I could use this out and about, I'm just doing it in this way for this purpose so that I can just experiment. But usually, in all of the ones I showed you at the beginning, they're all done on location. And what I'm trying to do is to explore how I might do this colour first approach, but instead of it being a very detailed line work over the top, keeping it loose. And so what I've done here in order to be able to show you is I've already put the watercolour down, and so that it can dry a little bit, and then I can work over it. And what I've used is I would usually use a small palette when I'm out and about, but because I'm in the studio here, I've decanted some just a selection of yellow, Indian yellow, Venetian red, and then a couple of greens, and actually I've used some blue as well for these sorts of bits here. But for the sake of simplicity, all I've done is I've mixed it up with water. I've sprayed a little bit onto the paper, and then I've added the watercolour. And I might just do a quick demo of how I do that after I've shown how I put the line work over this. But I wanted to have one that I was able to work over because it was dry enough, because with this technique it has to dry a little bit before you can use the ink pen. And what I'm using is I'm just using a watercolour pencil, Inktense pencil, which is deep indigo, and a Lamy Safari pen with some waterproof ink in it. And I don't want to kind of overly labour this. I don't know how it's going to work out, and I'm just really exploring. As I'm exploring, I'm sharing it with you. One of the nice things about doing the watercolour in this way, and I'm very loose in the way I put it on, and I shake the paintbrush, and you get these splodges, and I let it drip down, hold it upright so that it drips down. And the nice thing about this is not only do you get a very loose effect, as you can see, but also you get these serendipitous white areas which bring a kind of a lightness and a breathing into the image. And that's really why I kind of want to do it, if I'm honest, because obviously I do other mixed media studies as well. It's just, could I get this to do something that maybe offers something a little bit different to the other studies I do out on location. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm using my ink pen first of all, and I'm just literally following the path up, and I'm using a somewhat of a contour approach, and at the moment the paper is still a bit damp, so it's hard for the pen to always be able to record what I'm trying to draw. But as you can see here, I'm following along the posts, and I'm keeping my pen on the page as much as I can to try and get this sort of sinuous line effect. And I'm going up and down the posts, as you can see. And I'm at times having trouble getting the pen to work because the paper, as I say, is still a bit damp. And I'm just trying to create a variety of different marks, and I'm jumping around a little bit now because I'm realising I'm kind of running out of what I need to do on that left-hand side, and I'm jumping over because I don't mind doing some representational works. And I think this piece at the top is actually the sort of shed or the farm building. So I'm putting that in, and now I'm going to change to my Inktense pencil. It will work a lot better, but I'm using it to draw these nettles, and I'm again following my eye up and down the stems of the nettles and round the leaves and so on. But as you can see, I'm getting quite a nice rich line because the paper being damp means that you get quite a broad line. Even though this has been well sharpened, this pencil, I'm getting quite a nice broad line, which is a nice variety against the thinner pen. Now I'm going back to the pen now and putting in some of the more finer edges and grasses and so on along the edge, and just sort of try not to overwork it, but providing different marks and these finer lines at the top of the obviously the grasses and so on. And I'm just weaving my way around the image, trying to sort of see what I've got there before adding more. Yes, so I'm just literally just sort of finishing it now, and we'll see. I'm just trying to see if I can put some straddly grasses along the edge there, or some fine lines. Okay, so I'm putting the colour down now. I'm using really juicy paint, putting it down quite fast. I'm allowing it to drip, and I'm flicking the the paintbrush as well. Okay, so that is the finished painting part of this one, and actually I think it's probably looking somewhat better than that one. So the more of these you do, the more they're different every time because of the looseness and the very intuitive approach that you take, and then you work over them. And the trick is not, I think, in this case, not to overwork, and that one on the left probably is. Okay, so here are the two pieces, and the one on the right hand side I've just worked over it, but this time I've used the Inktense pencil, and I've used a pastel as well, a unison pastel, just to see what effect that would have. I still quite like the using the ink and the pencil, but just trying out different things, and I will explore further out on location. And this is one of the many approaches that I will use in my sketchbook on my forthcoming sketchbook course. So if you aren't already subscribed to my newsletter, I'll put the link in the notes, because if you're subscribed you will hear and be kept informed about my forthcoming courses. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe, and if you've got any comments, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, and one thing, if you wouldn't mind giving me some feedback around the length of these videos. This one might be a little bit shorter. My videos do tend to be about 15 minutes, but would you prefer them to be shorter? And it will be good to get some feedback. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.